Hey guys, welcome back. I apologize, it's been a minute since posting. Something unexpected came up that needed to be resolved. I'm back again today exploring another Neville Goddard lecture, and this one is titled The Book of Job. It has a powerful message that is relevant to each and every one of us. Now we must keep in mind that Neville does not give historical significance to biblical stories. Everything is a metaphor for something that takes place within the psychological drama of man's awakening consciousness. Therefore, Job is essentially a metaphor for the journey of the soul, which must undergo purification and transformation in order to achieve spiritual enlightenment and spiritual fulfillment. Now, Neville starts by saying that the book of Job is perhaps the most misquoted book on earth. The book is named after its hero, Job, who was completely innocent but a victim of a cruel experiment by God. Scholars have claimed that the word Job means, "Where is my father?" rather than the persecuted one, which is a common misunderstanding. He says that some people believe that a pact was made between Satan and God, which led to Job's suffering. But Satan disappears early on in the book, and the narrative reveals that in the end, God was responsible for Job's trials. The purpose of the story is not to teach patience under trial. Instead, it is to lead us to the revelation of the New Testament. Now, the story takes place in Edom and features a wealthy Arab sheik named Job, who owns thousands of animals, lots of land, and has 10 children. 4 tragedies befall Job, culminating in the loss of all his possessions and the physical destruction of his body. Job's friends come to comfort him, but fail to provide real comfort. They insist on the idea of divine justice and retribution, and try to get Job to admit that he must have done something evil for God to bring about these terrible events in his life. But Job challenges their assumption and insists that he is righteous and has not done anything to deserve this terrible suffering. Now, Job's friends bring argument after argument to persuade him that he has violated some moral code. But Job can't think of anything he has done to deserve such suffering. Job is so self-righteous that he believes he should not be suffering at all, and that he itemizes all the good deeds he has done and is convinced that he has not earned God's punishment. Job does not understand the concept of grace, which means that no one can be good enough to earn a place in God's kingdom. He still believes in the divine justice and retribution, which is challenged by the fact that innocent and righteous people suffer. Job demands to meet God and to confront him, convinced that he can persuade God to see his righteousness. He is still justifying himself and has not yet abandoned the belief in retribution. God speaks to Job out of a whirlwind and asks him questions about creation that Job cannot answer. Job realizes his ignorance and repents, realizing everything he previously knew about God was inherited from others and therefore ignorant and limited. Everything he understood about God up until that point came from being passed down. But now Job came face to face with God and came to bear testament for himself. Job says, "I have heard of thee with the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see thee." Now, Job's rebellion was against the orthodoxy of the church, and the second-hand way of knowing God leads to self-righteousness, which in the story of Job is described as the voice of hell. Job then prayed for his friends who had the same conditioning and belief in divine justice and retribution. In praying for his friends, he saw them transcend their ignorance and come unto a state of grace and a state of love. Once Job had forgiven his comforters for that which they did not know, his captivity was lifted. We learn the immense suffering that Job experienced hinged on his capacity to forgive. The story teaches the importance of forgiving others and seeing your fellow men in a state of grace. For Job had to learn that there is something to be learned through suffering and trials. One cannot come closer to God if there is no hardship or trials to grow and learn through. Therefore, there is no retribution in this revelation. As Neville says, man simply falls into different states of being, neither good nor evil. God himself consigned man to disobedience so that he may have mercy on all of them, and not one can boast of his own purity. Now, to end the lecture, Neville says, so as you read the book of Job in the future, see only one being playing all the parts, and it is Job, you, and he is in conflict with himself, and at the very end he is integrated. He is torn apart between the one accusing him and the one defending his rights. But suddenly he becomes an integrated soul, and at that moment of complete integration, where there is no one but himself, he finds God. For God becomes him so that he may become God, who sunk into us. The confusion goes on until finally there is no other to whom we can turn. Now, the core of everything Neville taught was that God became man so that man can become God. God is within you, and the awakening self within you is rising higher and coming to know itself as God. These stories in the Bible help us understand our life, and I absolutely love how Neville shows us how in each one of these stories, it is something that unfolds in the life lessons that each of us go through on our way to higher unification with the divine. Now, I hope you find time to sit and reflect on the story of Job. I am grateful for all of you, and I hope you join me in future videos. Thanks for watching. Till next time.